the team is different from last year, obviously, but both teams were 3-1 coming out of those first 4 games. And then October was where we saw things. I don't want to say water found its level, but that was when last year's team started to stagnate. And it was pretty apparent that the quarterback situation was going to be an issue. The offensive line wasn't where we thought it would be. And those are maybe the 2 key areas where I feel good about these next 4 games, is that you do have a quarterback that I think will just continue to exponentially get better. Granted, they catch the football off of his fingertips. We will talk about that shortly as well. And the offensive line is trending up as well too. But got to get this one Saturday. I think that Washington game, like we said, is extremely winnable. And then there is no scenario, barring you beat Ohio State again and go to the playoff and make a deep run in the playoff, where I think a loss to this Michigan State team is acceptable this year. So what are we looking at these next 4 weeks? In my head, I had them at 4-2 after 6 and 6-2 after those first 8 games. How are we feeling about this October slate? Because this is a big test for Jerome Moore and his program, setting themselves up for potentially being a playoff team.
So there are 8 games left, and Ohio State is the toughest one remaining. But, the other toughest are USC, Washington, Michigan State, probably throw Wisconsin in there. Maryland might be a little bit frisky at the end, and you go on the road. So all the remaining tough games are in this month that's coming up, the month that Michigan will play its next game in, and then Ohio State at the end. So, I could see them dropping one. It would be at USC, in my opinion, if they do. I'm not ready to say that I'm predicting that at this point. I think that Michigan can certainly go in and win that football game. They're going to have to play well, not have stupid penalties, not turn the ball over, like all those prerequisites to winning these tight games. And I feel like Michigan is in that zone right now. Wisconsin's in a different zone where, like we said, they could get killed at any week, or, they could maybe pull out a tough victory against an okay team or an average team. Michigan's in that zone where if they play a quality team, it's probably going to be a close game. I think they're going to continue to get better throughout the season, and they could, blow out a really good team at some point. But at the very least, I think in the next few weeks, if you play USC, Washington, it's going to be relatively close. So you got to play clean. You got to play well. I'll be interested to see what this team looks like, what kind of progress they made over the bye week. The offensive line will be facing a much tougher defensive front that Wisconsin possesses. Wisconsin's been a mess, but they've stopped the run pretty well. At the same time, Luke Fickell said today that they haven't faced a challenge yet like the Michigan run game with a mobile quarterback like this, running backs like they have, an offensive line like Michigan has that is continuing to grow. So, I think that a lot of what I feel like this team is going to be is going to have to do with how they look against Wisconsin, but it's pivotal. Do I have to make a record prediction for October at this point?
You don't have to. At this point, it's just go out and win the game or see what happens. I mean, preseason predictions don't mean anything. I'm not, just because I predicted that before the year, I'm not beholden to that once we get to game week. If they come out and drop another 50 burger on a team that does not belong on the same field as them, like they did, against Northwestern, against CMU a couple weeks ago, then I might pick them to beat USC. But that's the game that I think we all have circled, and it's not overlooking Wisconsin, but I think this is another one of those weeks where how it looks is pretty important.
Yeah. And it's just interesting too, even if they do drop 50 on Wisconsin, that game against USC is just going to be a different animal. It's its own entity. You're going all the way out west. So it'll still be a big challenge. You find yourself in a dogfight. If you can win by 1 or more, which are the best victories out on the West Coast for the first time in the regular season since 1989, then you are damn happy to have a long, happy flight home and get back to work and host Washington the next week in another huge game. So, man, look good this weekend, win decisively, and set yourself up to go try to win by 1 or more at USC. And then you're talking about really, you're talking about top 15, top 12 type of team. As you said, the college football playoff, all that buzz is going to start. The confidence is, could potentially grow. Bryce Underwood is going to keep coming into his own. It's still not even midseason yet, and he's going to only get better. And I think by midseason in a couple weeks, he's going to be a much better quarterback than he was a couple weeks ago. So then it gets exciting.
Yeah, and as far as the rankings go, like you said, Michigan's at number 20. I don't think Michigan fans are all that worked up about the ranking or, oh, we're better. Oh, we shouldn't be ranked this high. I think there's kind of an understanding that if you just keep winning, that's going to take care of itself.
It'll work itself out. I do think it is odd, though, that they fall all that way, yet the voters also agree that Oklahoma, especially with John Mateer, is one of the best teams in the country. So it's like you went there on the road and lost that, but you've won your other three. It is a little weird they dropped them, but it literally does not matter because Michigan has the type of schedule. You're in the type of conference that if you win, you're going to be in the college football playoff. And the AP doesn't even decide it anyway, so it's kind of a moot point, but it is a little interesting.
Yeah, I don't know when they drop. Don't they usually drop the first rankings during that, like, what's the Champions Classic event that they do? Is that when the first rankings usually are?
Like after week 8, I believe.
That sounds right. So if you're sitting there at 6-1, 7-1, whenever they drop these rankings, then you're going to be where you're supposed to be. They're where you'd like to be. So people who get worked up about that stuff, I've never understood it. I was the one that brought it up. I don't get worked up about it, but just a little food for thought there.
It's after week 10, and it is that'll be Tuesday, November 5th this year. So yeah, I think that will be the Champions Classic, which not all the teams in the Champions Classic are champions, but that's beside the point.
Who's in the field for that this year, by the way?
Isn't it always
it's always the same four. I was going to make a pissy kind of joke.
What was it? Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, and
Kansas, right?
Kansas, yeah.
So rousing stuff there. We'll probably be in the building interviewing football players because that's what pays the bills around here.